WFD, you can make your introductions.
Good morning, Chair. My name is William Chilofia, coming from the Center for Innovating Development, and we are collaborating with the Westminster Foundation for Democracy on this submission.
Can you continue introducing?
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, Honorable members of this committee. My name is Muzi Kamanga, a member of the Westminster Foundation.
Good morning. My name is Wisdom Mulizwa, coming from Citizens First in collaboration with Westminster Foundation.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, members. My name is Natasha Sakala from the Center for Innovating Development.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, the committee members. My name is Jonathan Kandunda Nganga. I'm coming from New Congress Party, a member of WFD. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning.
And the honorable members. My name is Kwangu Mukupa. I'm coming from NDC, National Democratic Congress, WFD.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning.
Good morning, honorable members of Parliament. My name is Cesar Teta. I'm coming from the Forum for Democracy and Development and a member of the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, WFD. Thank you.
My name is Esther Banda, coming from Women in Law and Development in Africa.
Okay, thank you, Honorable. Can you make your introduction?
Thank you, Chair. Westminster Foundation for Democracy. I'm Imango Amnyima, Member of Parliament for Naloro constituency.
Good morning once again. My name is Chinga Myutu. I represent Karau Central and sitting in for the substantive chairperson who is engaged in other national duties. As we interact, we are extending to you the immunity arising from Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia. That is, Cap 12 applied to honorable members when handling matters on the floor of the House. So Cap 12 restricts prosecution to be effected on any member when handling matters on the floor. So we are extending that immunity to you today, so that there is no prosecution that can arise from this interaction that we are having today. Also, Cap 12 protects and secures the submission that you are about to deliver to this committee, that it cannot be used, submission cannot be used in any court of law in Zambia as part of evidence or otherwise. So I'm sure it is real immunity. However, Cap 12 can be applied against you if it is found that you planned. There must be a plan. If there is an intention to mislead this committee, If there's no plan, you have no intention, you have been invited so that we interact. The reason is we have this bill, which should be formalized, but it cannot be formalized without stakeholder engagement. So right now, we are doing stakeholder consultations over the proposals on the bill so that enactment can occur. I've looked at the submission and also matching it with how much work we have as a committee. So a request is forwarded to encourage you not to read word by word, so that we can save even 1 or 2 minutes. So we request that you only go to salient those matters which are issues which you cannot avoid. So I can give you the opportunity now to present whoever has been mandated to present the submission.
Very grateful, Chair. Thank you so much. In line with your guidance, let me just give a short introduction of who we are. So we are the Center for Innovating Development. It's a Zambian non-for-profit organization, and we're working towards democracy and development in Zambia. So on this particular engagement, on this particular submission, we are partnering or collaborating with the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, which is basically UK Parliament that we've been working with together with political parties in Zambia. So what we have been doing, we've worked on this presentation with the support of the Westminster Foundation for Democracy with political parties. So as we come and make these presentations, there are issues that we've discussed with some political parties that are already here, and this could be part of their voice in terms of their feeling about this presentation. And some of the political parties that we have worked with here, first of all, is the mother of the political parties in Zambia, which is the Zambia Center for Inter-Party Dialogue. We've worked with them on this one. And also the UPND, PNUP, PF, NCP, and FTD, Citizens First as well. The National Democratic Congress as well, yeah. So this is our introduction in the spirit of saving a minute. So may I hand over to Mr. Muzi Kamanga, who lead us with the main highlight of the presentation.
It's just an observation. What you have mentioned, and yes, so we need now clarity. The schedule of work for this committee, for items day by day, hour by hour. So your statement now contradicts the schedule. We have, if I can read, on day 8, the stakeholders who are supposed to interact with this. We have FDD, it is on the schedule here, and to the knowledge of this committee, there has been no notice of them not appearing as FDD. So when now you say your submission, FDD is part of that, or you are so we don't know now what to do.
Thank you very much, Chair. The background that Mr. Chilofya was giving was to the effect that in coming up with these reflections on the bill, the Westminster Foundation and the Center for Innovative Development did convene a number of meetings, 3 in total, which had participants from the political parties which reflected on this bill and came up with solutions on this bill. But that did not exclude the participants of these meetings that were representing the political parties, including the ruling party, the PF in its many different forms, and the other parties, from going ahead in their individual capacity as parties to make their own observations on a bill as a collective. So probably that is a point that we need to make.
Okay, we can proceed.
Thank you very much, Chair. And with that, may I also proceed to present the specific observations that we've made on the bill. Suffice to say that we are of a considered position that the amendments regarding the electoral process are very necessary given the constitutional changes that occurred as a result of Amendment Act number 13 of 2025. And we welcome these within that light because it's a constitutional imperative. Honorable members of this committee, may we now proceed to share the specifics of what we've observed in the bill. Should we also mention that prior to the bill that has been presented to the National Assembly, there was another bill that was presented to the public by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, which was on their website. Our observations were emanating from that, including our deliberations with the political running through in the month of January, February to about March, when the new one that has come to the National Assembly before you came into being. But we've taken out all those observations in the earlier bill and restrict ourselves to the current bill before your committee. Honorable members, in the bill, in the proposed section 2 of the bill introduces a number of terms. It commences with the deletion of the term campaign period and substitution thereof of the term campaign period in the bill, which it defines as the period commencing after the close of nominations on the day preceding an election, as the Commission determines in accordance with Section 26.
Right intervention. As we progress with the presentation, since this document is not numbered, is it numbered?
So yeah, it's not numbered. May I?
So we need to
thank you very much.
You indicate to the members which page you are. We are together.
All right. Thank you for that guidance, Honorable Chair. So this is page unnumbered, but page number 1, 2, 3, 4. Page number 5, under the subheading Reflections of the Electoral Process. Then the next page, which starts with Honorable Members. F. Yes. So you go down to now the second paragraph, the third paragraph, which starts with Honorable Members, the bill in proposed section 2. Honorable Chair. So we thought, in the interest of time, we can just go through the last 3 pages to just capitalize on the Chair's guidance.
Okay.
Is this okay?
Yes.
Thank you very much, and our sincere apologies for not numbering the pages. May I start again, Honorable Chair? Honorable Members, proposed Section 2 introduces and defines a number of new terms. It commences of the term campaign period in the Principal Act and substitution thereof of this term in the bill of campaign period, which it defines as the period commencing after the close of nominations and ending on the day preceding an election, as the Commission determines in accordance with Section 28, unquote. In the Principal Act, the term campaign period is defined as the period of 3 months before the holding of an election, unquote. We may not be privy to the justification by the Electoral Commission of Zambia in seeking to alter the definition of campaign period as in the Principal Act, but it is our considered view that the definition of the term campaign period is a measured one that seeks to give greater meaning to the constitutional provision, in particular Articles 53, where the acceptance of a proposed candidate, prospective candidate's nomination by the returning officer signifies the campaign period or the candidate of that person for election for that particular seat. However, in the proposed amendment, the Electoral Commission shall be clothed with the power to determine the campaign period, and this may divest the Electoral Commission of its independent impartiality and neutrality in electoral management and cast it in bad light by other interested stakeholders in the electoral system, which may affect the determination of the campaign period by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, as may always favor those that enjoy incumbency. You may recall, Honorable Chair, that the Constitution has just changed the term or the tenure of an MP. So now the MPs will run through the whole 60 months. So if the Electoral Commission of Zambia will determine the campaign period, notwithstanding that Parliament has dissolved, the campaign period by the Electoral Commission may be determined for a month, for even 2 months or less, because there are certain outstanding issues to be resolved by the incumbency. That may bring about, I think, some bad light when it comes to the standing of the Electoral Commission, that there are certain people that the bill has defined terms of Secretary General as well as a president of a political party. Honorable members, we note that the bill has repeated references to the Societies Act, Chapter 119 of the Laws of Zambia. The term president has been defined as an office bearer designated as president of a political party in accordance with the Societies Act and Code. We also note that the bill goes further to define a Secretary General as an office bearer designated as Secretary General or equivalent office bearer of a political party in accordance with the Societies Act. We've had occasion to peruse through the Societies Act and have not found any specific reference of political parties for terms President and Secretary General, as the bill belabors to define these terms. Instead, the Societies Act has defined the term office bearer to mean in relation to a society or a committee or governing body of a society. It means an office bearer means any person who is a president, vice president, chairperson, deputy chair, secretary, or treasurer of such society, committee, or body, who holds office or position analogous to any of these mentioned above. It may appear that the term Secretary General is not, it may be analogous to all these mentioned in Section 2 of the Act, but the law does not define this term to any other position of a society, but instead the discretion of a registered society to determine on its own terms the responsibility of each office bearer in its constitution or articles of association. Honorable members, our considered view that the definition of the terms President and Secretary General has defined or has attempted to be defined in the bill is an overlap of the legislative function of the Electoral Commission of Zambia, as per Article 229 of the Constitution, provide or clothe the Electoral Commission of Zambia with the power to regulate political parties. Instead, that power is reposed in the Registrar of Societies. If the Registrar of Societies wants to define the terms of office bearers of political parties, it is for the Registrar of Societies to bring that bill before you, not for the Electoral Commission of Zambia. The Electoral Commission of Zambia, in the management, in the constitutional mandate, only manages elections, not political parties that conduct or that contest for elections. That is a preserve of the Societies Act as it is, not of the Electoral Process Act. Therefore, we form the view that this provision may only work to undermine integrity, electoral integrity in Zambia, as the Electoral Commission of Zambia may be forced to start focusing on discharging responsibilities that do not form its constitutional mandate, but that of other stakeholders. Honorable members, state that the formation and membership of political parties is a constitutionally entrenched right under freedom of association, with well-prescribed derogations on its exercise. Accordingly, it is our view that how political parties or associations determine their internal processes is a matter largely left to the preserve of each political party or association, and therefore statutory incursions ought to be carefully discouraged, as the Electoral Process Bill attempts to do here. Honorable members, may we also further note that the bill defines the term adoption certificate to mean a certificate President or Secretary General of a political party as prescribed, specifying a candidate who is sponsored by that political party for an election to office of President, Member of Parliament, Mayor, Council Chairperson, or Councillor. May we note that in the Principal Act, the term adoption certificate is not defined, and the bill seeks to define this term in a rather restrictive manner by specifically mentioning which office bearer of a political party may sign the adoption certificate. As stated, the responsibilities and roles of office bearers of political parties are a unique preserve of each political party to determine in its own constitution or association as the case may be, and not for the Electoral Commission of Zambia to dictate to political parties. For these reasons, it is our considered view that the definition of the term adoption certificate may have to be reconsidered to read that an adoption certificate is any document signed by a designated office bearer party sponsoring a candidate for an election to office of President, Member of Parliament, Mayor, Council Chairperson, or Councillor, unquote. Stakeholders, particularly political parties, have interacted with this and are of the view that a more flexible and inclusive approach be instead adopted by the bill. They have recommended that the provision should allow for designated political parties, as agreed by each political party in its constitution, dictate this and not an act of parliament. In the light of these concerns, we recommend that the provision be revised to provide for sufficient flexibility for political parties to designate on their own accord authorized officers for issues relating to their internal processes. Honorable members, the bill amends Section 17 of the Principal Act. I quote, "A person whose name appears in the provisional register of voters may object to an error or omission regarding that person's details in a prescribed manner within 14 days of publication of the provisional register of voters, thereby replacing the period of 90 days in the Principal Act to 14. Honorable members, the departure point of the bill from the Principal Act is that it seeks to reduce the period through which voters may inspect the provisional register of voters. As was demonstrated in the last voter registration period, with several extension, a limited period of 14 days for inspection of provisional register of voters may not be feasible and may lead to disenfranchising a number of voters for elections. It is our considered view that your committee do consider revising this to maintain the current one in the Principal Act of 90 days period of inspection as opposed to 14 days. Honorable members, in conclusion, we wish to state that the Electoral Process Amendment Bill is a necessary legislative proposal that your Honorable Committee must support to facilitate for constitutional changes occasioned by the Constitution Amendment number 13 of 2025. But as we have stated in our submission, there are a few provisions of grave concern in the bill that may need addressing, which, if not addressed, may undermine the electoral integrity of this country for a number of years and may lead to major disagreements on the electoral outcome, not only in August, but also for future elections. We humbly submit, Honorable Chair.
Thank you for the presentation of the submission. Honorable members, any observations or questions? Yes, Honorable Smusha.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your presentation. I just need to seek clarity on the issue of the signing of the adoption certificate. I think you refer to the society, the registrar of society, where you are saying it does not talk about the Secretary General and the President, but I think when you were reading the Act itself, I heard somewhere where it is referring to a President, but I think they see the Secretary General, you're just saying a Secretary. So an adoption certificate, if it has to be given, definitely there must be someone to sign it, and you argue you should leave that to the parties to decide who signs it. But as you may be aware, I think a party has a hierarchy in terms of its membership. So a sensitive issue like signing of an adoption certificate definitely cannot be just one to sign per se. But since in the Registrars Act, there is mention of some positions, which I think, as I listen to your submission, those are hierarchy members in that organization of the party. So, what is seriously wrong with this bill, bringing out the president, but maybe where it may agree with you is when you talk about Secretary General, which is not part of the membership in terms of the what comes out of the act. If we put, for example, the CEO, because every political party CEO. So if that amendment was made, where the president is mentioned and the CEO of the political party, how do you react to that, or what is your comment? Thank you so much.
So maybe before you respond, we can carry Honorable Mshanga. Another? Okay, those.
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson. I think just a rider to Honorable Smunshi's point of clarification or question. I think if you have been following even political parties, even before I became a member of parliament, I think even when I was a private secondary, I've been following and I've seen that usually adoption certificates are signed by either the SG, that is Secretary General of the party, or General Secretary, or President. Even the 3 times that I've stood as a member of parliament in my party, PF, it was the Secretary General and the President. And I think what this bill is proposing is just to regularize, I can say, so that it is very, very clear, so that maybe it is not abused that every Jim and Jack in the political parties can sign the adoption certificates. Then the other question, that was just a rider to Honorable Smunshes. Then the other one, we are talking about 90 days of inspection of the provision register by voters. Since we are interacting with this select committee, we would want you to be very, very clear, like when do the voters start like inspecting the register of voters, and when does it end? Because ECZ as a program also, you know, elections, we have activities. So 90 days, so when do the voters start inspecting and when does it end? Bearing in mind that ECZ, or the nation through ECZ, there are also other activities to do before the actual day of the polling. So 90 days, don't you think it is too much? And looking at 14 days also what the bill is proposing, and bearing in mind also of other activities before we arrive, before the nation arrives on the actual polling day. I submit, Honorable Chairperson.
Maybe you can attend to those questions.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thank you very much, Honorable Mshanga. Maybe I start with this last question. Why are we proposing 90 days retention of 90 days as opposed to 14 days? I hear your views as to why probably ECZ might be tempted to want to change this. But also let's get to the view that when the ECZ register voters, this voter registration register will run through until 3 months before the next elections. So if there was a by-election in any constituency or ward in Zambia today, the ECZ 3 months before August will use the 2021 register. When they start registering voters, it should be a continuous exercise as the law determines. But they can close it, as we also saw last year, where they will say for the next few days until running December, this is the registration period and we won't register any voters. So let's say December 31st, or should I say November 30th, they close the registration of voters, starts working the provisional register as reconciling the last register of say 2026 and also the new one in 2031. Let's say November, whatever, they've closed that. For December, January, they will have those administrative issues to deal with. In January, they can start a voter provisional register that will run through up to end of March for inspection of the voter register, for people who have voted, for people who have changed, for people who have registered for the first time, as well as for those who are changing constituencies or addresses here and there. By March 31st, they will close that one now. And then they announce their schedule in terms of when they meet political parties, the changes they've done toward. And that has always been the case. 2016 elections was run like that. 2021 elections was run like that. Even the current one is run like that. From the last time they stopped registering voters when they were coming into our townships, into the malls, they closed that. They've had more than sufficient time to subject the provisional voter register to all of us. They've sent messages for us to check. They've done that. I think that if you give them 14 days to do that, it's probably a very small period for people to check their views. It is possible that my details might have been misplaced. By the time I'm trying to check that, my 14 days have lapsed and I have no recourse, meaning I will be ineligible to participate in that election. I think the whole interest should be that whatever ECZ does, you should make sure that each and every Zambian is not denied an opportunity to vote for his or her leaders in the forthcoming elections, unless that particular Zambian was negligent in doing his civic duties. We feel 14 days may only encourage that, and 90 days as it is may work well in ensuring more voters do register. I hope that does suffice, but my colleagues can come in if they have other views to add or subtract from there. Regarding the issue that Honorable Simushi had raised, and I think you had right to that why do we propose that the Secretary General, President of a political party, may not be the ones to sign the adoption certificate? I think the view that we are trying to submit is that it is not in the place of an act of parliament to specify which office bearer of a political party should do ABCD. Up to that political party to determine that. If you look at the UPND, the highest governing body of the UPND, I stand to be corrected, is the National Management Council. The MMD has the National Executive Council. For the Patriotic Front, I think they have a Congress. MCC, yes, the Central Committee. Those terms alone tell you that these political parties have different perceptions of how their structures should be. It is possible that a political party A, for political party A, the leader of this political party who will be elected will be a chairperson. When we are going to elections, our presidential candidate will be chosen in a year of election and does not need to be an office bearer. And this presidential candidate will only have the duty of appearing as a candidate in elections. When it comes to the nitty-gritties of our political party, we, the elected officials of our political party, will do that, and we're giving this power to the chairperson. that would be perfectly all right. Why? Because that political party's constitution determines that. Political parties are clubs. What clubs have decided to do by themselves should be good enough at law. That's why if I'm not happy with Club A, I go to Club B. Why? I don't like Club A and its rules. Now, when it's an act of parliament to determine those intricate issues of political parties, we might as well have the Electoral Commission determining the constitution of these political parties. Yes, for all the times you've stood as an MP, the Secretary General of a political party was signing. They might use regulations in your party empowering him to sign. Other political parties will say, a Secretary General is not elected, he's appointed. I cannot have an appointee to sign my adoption certificate. I want to have somebody who is at our Congress. There will be nothing wrong with that submission by such a political party. It is a misplacement of the law for this bill to put that or to clothe the Electoral Commission of Zambia with that power. Let the political parties determine those on their own accord as they see things fit in their structures. I humbly submit.
Thank you, Chair, and I appreciate the submission for the Center for Innovative Development. Chair, I just want to find out from the witness, how does ECZ deal with factionalism in this case? Because the spirit of this amendment is the aspect of factionalism in political parties. I don't want to comment on the judiciary's role on this particular issue, but a practical example is that even aside from factionalism, even in stable political parties, for example, I'll give myself an example. PNUP, you are fighting in on the 19th, and at 9 hours, someone arrives with a certificate signed by the president. At 9:30, the other one arrives with a certificate signed by the Secretary General. And they all now are required to recognized by law as valid certificates. Now, narrowing it down is the fact that you can have different political parties with different factions, and they are all issuing certificates. So in your view as a witness, how do you feel ECZ should cure this using the law? Because even this amendment they're proposing can be potentially problematic because of its restrictiveness. But in your view, as a witness coming to assist this committee, how do you feel we can deal with factions? For example, NDCs, and they different president, different secretary, and they all have a valid certificates signed by president and secretary general, and who the law recognizes as the valid party, we don't know. So how can we deal with this?
The second, Honorable Mshanga.
Yeah, again, Honorable Chairperson, just to add on the submission of Honorable Imanga with a vivid example in my constituency, I think that was 2016, Kawama ward. We experienced what Honorable Imanga is just from putting on the table. That is for aspiring candidate councillors. At that time, I was from filing in my nomination aspiring candidate. Saving cause. Honorable Kawe Institute of Technology, that is Kawe Trades, there is this challenge. So please, can you come? Actually, I was going home from the nomination center. So I had to rush. There were actually two. One presented, in fact, during the same time, I think it was, they were supposed to file in. The councillor, our councillor was supposed to file in at 11. So I just saw somebody from this person also had, it was authentic certificate from the Patriotic Front. And the council through the returning officer, the one who was receiving the documents, didn't know what to do. I had to call the town clerk that time, Ronald Daka, that there's this challenge. And then the town clerk guided that, Honorable, in that case, to do, your secretary, the Secretary General of the party has to weigh in with maybe a word or maybe written instructions between the two who is going to like follow in. That time the Secretary General of the party was Honorable Davis Chama, the former defense minister. So I had to get in touch with the Secretary General of the party just to come in and resolve the matter. So the Secretary General of the party then had to call the town clerk, who is the district electoral officer that I know. Between the two, this is the candidate that the party has adopted. So I think you can see that it is a very, very serious, and you'd find that because this is allocates time. Before the matter is resolved, you would find that the time elapses. Usually it is 1 hour in between. If this is not taken into consideration, you would find that certain political parties may not have chance to file in, maybe at the councillorship level, parliamentary level, and also maybe council chairperson and mayoral position. So we are trying to also to be very, very real, especially as we have participated in elections. So I think ECZ or this bill is trying to cure what Honorable Imanga is from. So I just wanted to add with that vivid example in my constituency. I think that was during 2016 general elections. I submit, Honorable Chairperson.
Maybe you can respond.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thank you very much, Honorable Imanga and Honorable Mshanga, for those questions. My understanding of this is that we may have challenges in this area, and I think it's a justified one. So much not by design of the law, but by default, especially by key stakeholders. My understanding is that there ought to be collaboration between key state institutions when it comes to issues of national importance, which is the authorized office for political parties. As the law is in Zambia today, it is the office of the Registrar of Societies. The Registrar of Societies, when registering an entity like the Center for Innovative Development, who have the constitution and a list of the office bearers and the address for this institution. Actually, it is an offense for us to change our address without notifying the Registrar of Societies. There will be fractions, and we've seen this, and it's a lived reality in this country. But again, when we're about to have such an important national exercise as elections, my thought, probably wrongly, is that the Electoral Commission of Zambia ought to get in touch with the Registrar of Societies to give them a list of valid or legally registered political parties and their addresses, those whose details are with them. There will be fractions and everything like that. That doesn't really change the view. The Registrar of Societies should be able to know which of these fractions is the one registered with me. When we're about to have elections, my thought is that the designated officers of a political party will send a list of nominated councillors, nominated members of parliament, nominated running mate and presidential candidate to the Electoral Commission of Zambia as an official list, which communication the Electoral Commission of Zambia should be able to communicate with the returning officers at the district level. For this constituency where Honorable Mshanga is standing, the PF has advised us that our candidate is ABCD for this, for this, for this. From what I'm getting, it's like that does not exist at all. And that's where the problem is. And how do you cure default? Do you cure default by creating an additional law? Or you cure default by holding the officers accountable with what the law charges them to do, and they do not do it? The Registrar of Societies is the one who is designated a legally registered political party. He has the details of that. It's not the Electoral Commission of Zambia. The Electoral Commission of Zambia may not know the office bearers of each political party. Why? They don't manage political parties. Registrar of Societies does. why don't we hold registrar of societies accountable for the parties where you have different factions? My view is that we just need to look at the administrative challenges that are facing these two entities insofar as having the duly appointed or nominated candidates standing for elections for each category. That probably might help, and not where you create another additional law and circumvent the Societies Act just to address the challenges that the Electoral Commission of Zambia is facing. I submit.
Yes, honorable members. Are we satisfied?
To make a comment, Honorable Chairperson, usually there are no lists emanating from the political parties. Usually it is just an adoption certificate. You go, in fact, it is one of the requirements on the list by the ECZ. As you present your papers, whatever papers, I think it is the adoption certificate. Political parties do not write to the ECZ to indicate that maybe at the councillorship level, this is the situation. And also maybe, witness, just to give you a vivid example, the interactive meeting by ECZ with political parties. I think you saw what happened. Me, I was following. One of the political parties were the true political party. The origin, actually, that was the term that was used. We are the original political party. And you find that there was another political, the same name, in about 3 factions. And it was very difficult for those who followed during that national, I think it was for presidential candidates, is it? Presidential candidates, secretary generals, and also other members from other political parties, I mean from the political parties. This is a during the ECZ interactive meeting with the presidential candidates. I saw it myself. I was not there, but I saw it on TV, even social media. This one introducing, we are the original owners of the party. Then there's another faction, So that is just a vivid example. So I think that's what this bill somehow it is trying to cure. I submit, Honorable Chairperson.
Yes, you can.
Honorable Chair, and I think Honorable Mshanga does qualify what I was saying. I was hoping not to comment on those particular issues, but you see, even in those issues, the Electoral Commission of Zambia ought to have gotten a list of duly registered political parties with the registrar of societies and invite only those. Anybody who cares that were given as a list of validly registered ones should not have been allowed the audience there. And these are the issues we keep talking about. It's by default and not by design of the law that things are being done in a haphazard way. We are a country, we are not a village, we are a country with laws. And if, there's a saying in law that the law is only as good as the men and women implementing it. If we don't want to implement the law, we'll have this confusion. Not to implement the law, so we'll have this confusion. You and me did see that there were even parties that you and me have never heard of. And the argument has been that these were probably NGOs and not political parties. Whether that is true or not is a matter for the ECZ to clarify. But if the ECZ had a list from the Office of Registrar of Societies of validly registered political parties, probably half of the people in that room were not going to be there. And this is what we're talking about. Get a list from there, submit it, and look at this other thing. For honorable members, you've had experience. When you file your nominations, you're not duly, your nominations are duly accepted there and then, isn't it? The reason is now to do the background check. What does that background check mean? There's a list from the political parties. Our candidates in Central Province are these ones. For constituents ABCD, our councillors are these ones. Once that is done, your nomination has been duly accepted and you can now be declared a candidate. Probably these are not done, and that's why we have this sort of confusion. I duly submit, Honorable Chair.
Okay. Honorable members, any other new matter that has not been delved in? Okay. If there's none, your last words, WFD.
Thank you so much. As always, would just appeal and look forward that some of our submissions could be considered, as they come from the deepest of our hearts, and we're passionate about them. Thank you so much, Chair, for this opportunity.
Thank you. The whole group, WFD, WFD, and all other people have joined. You have created an interactive, positive in that manner, very substantive, issue-based.
Well, thank you for still being with us on Parliament Television. And the Center for Innovating Development, in collaboration with other organizations, have made their submission before the Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the Electoral Process Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 44 of 2026. And the team was led by Mr. Muzi Kamanga. And the committee continues to receive submissions. Still to make a submission before the committee is PANAS Zambia. Keep watching Parliament Television. Stand by, Tola.
Bakakuwisha, bamibakesha, ukukuwisha, batiwisakamana, tebakusunga, tebakulisha, oh no. Bakesa, bakakuwisha, bamibakesha, ukukuwisha, kumiwisakamana, tebakusunga, tebakulisha, oh no. Teti wasansa mushaiwe, teti sansa mushesonye, pengiwe yeshewe nifima. Father bless me, bless my enemies. Bafakira ni polisi kuwakazi wana kwa. Please remember my family. Amene mudali sabena. Wali ushana lelo naona kwa kwa. So yalipaka mwapako siani kuuze santi weunga tufunukala hapi kosa suna chitu kumutima nono teti wa sansa mshaiwe teti sansa mshesonye pengiwe yeshewe nifima fino kumana na menso abarwani beso tusangwa nabo abarwani beso tukowa nabo. Bless my enemies. Bafakira ni polisi kuwakazi wana kwa. Please remember my family. Amene mudali sabena. Wali ushana lelo naona kwa. Father bless me. Bless my enemies. Bafakira ni polisi kuwakazi wana kwa. Please remember my family. Amene mudali sabena. Wali ushana lelo naona kuama kwa. Bakesa, bakakuwisha, bamibakesha, ukukuwisha. bakuhisha batiwisakamala tebakusunga tebakuhisha bakesa bakakuhisha babibakesha kukuhisha koma wisakamala tebakusunga tebakuhisha
For still being with us on Parliament Television. We continue bringing to you live the Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the Electoral Process Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 44 of 2026. And this time around, panels will be making an appearance before the committee. We now take you to the committee. Keep watching Parliament Television.
Where is the submission? Where is the submission? Good afternoon, panels.
Good afternoon, Honorable. Good afternoon, members.
You are welcome to this committee, the committee, which is looking into the Electoral Process Amendment Bill. We'll introduce ourselves, yourselves, as panels, the honorable members, also to indicate to you that we have honorable members who are on. So physically they are not with us, but we are together in the meeting. So let me request the honorable members at this juncture to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Chair. Witness, you are welcome. My name is Simon Banda, Member of Parliament for Petauke Central. I'm also a member of this Select Committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Panels, you are very much welcome. Mushanga Sydney is my name, Member of Parliament for Bwacha, and a member of this committee.
Thank you, Chair. Panels, you're welcome. Manga Omnyema Jr., Member of Parliament for Nalolo constituency in Western Province and a member of this Select Committee.
Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, witness. My name is Timothy Lumba from the Office of
So, panels, you can make the introductions.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members. My name is Vusumu Zisifile. I'm the Executive Director of Panos Institute Southern Africa, and I'm accompanied by my colleagues. With permission, Chairperson, Honorable Chair, I will request that they also introduce themselves, starting with one on my immediate right.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Sarah Moinia, Programs Assistant at Panos Institute Southern Africa. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Agab Mwanza with Bloggers of Zambia.
Good afternoon, Chair and honorable members. My name is Chama Chawasungu. I'm also coming from Zambia Free Press Initiative.
Good afternoon, honorable members. My name is Onium Bofana. I work with Bloggers of Zambia. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable and members. My name is Chilala Chebale Msenge. I'm with Free Press Initiative.
Good afternoon once again. Honorable members, those online, those who are able to introduce themselves, you can proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon from Katombola Constituency Chair, and allow me to welcome our witness this afternoon, Dr. Clement Andeleku, Member of Parliament for Katombola Constituency and a member of the Select Committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair. Nicholas Mukumbi, Member of Parliament for Solwezi West, constituency, member of this committee. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon once again. My name is Chinga Mutu, in Karab Central, sitting in for the substantive chairperson who is engaged in other national duties. Our panels, as we interact, we extend now the effect of Article 12 of the laws of this Zambia to you. This 12 carries with it the immunity. So the honorable members have that immunity when they are handling matters on the floor of the House. So now you have become part of that group today. So you have the full immunity. Also, the submission that you are about to present to this committee also is secured. It cannot be used in any court of law in Zambia as evidence or otherwise. But Cap 12 again, it states further that if it is proven beyond any reasonable doubt that you planned to this committee in its deliberation, then Cap 12 works against you. This is to create fairness. So we have in front of us a submission, which is I think it's a bit bulky. So we are also looking at how much work is ahead of this committee just for today. So if I may request that from the look of things, if you can start from the page 5, so that these other issues you omit them, but just to look at from page 5, where I can see some observations and recommendations, so that it can help to quicken the time of discussion. So you can proceed.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members. As Panos Institute Southern Africa, we appreciate this opportunity to appear before this honorable committee, and we also appreciate the immunity that you've conferred upon us. Of course, you wish you can extend it outside, but we know that it's yeah. So I think also just to commend the committee, I think the honorable members we have seen. I think we interacted with some of our colleagues who mentioned that they were here even over the weekend. Yeah, so I think that is something, a testament of the great work that the investment that the members of this committee are putting into this. And I think as people that under your leadership, we greatly we commend you for that. So as Panos Institute Southern Africa, maybe before I start, we commend Parliament through this honorable committee for moving with speed to actualize constitutional provisions relating to the electoral process. and we are greatly honored to be invited to also contribute to this discussion. We recognize that the bill that is before this honorable committee presents an important opportunity to strengthen electoral integrity, enhance inclusion, and modernize the administration of our elections. Maybe the honorable chairperson, just to mention that I prepared short talking points that are much shorter than this, yeah, so that I know that the honorable members, that they don't do what the rest of us do, that if you want to hide things from them, we put it in writing. I think for the members, I know that they have read. So I've summarized, and we have conducted an analysis, as the honorable chairperson has rightly acknowledged, where we have identified a number of issues, some positive, some where there is room for improvement. From our analysis, we have identified some areas that may benefit from this committee's guidance in terms of revision, because there are certain provisions that may unintentionally accountability, create legal ambiguities, and exclude vulnerable groups. So with your permission, honorable chairperson, for this submission, I'll focus mostly on 4 issues. One will be issues around the design and transparency of the proportional representation system, which was one of the highlights, I think, because this electoral process amendment bill is coming as a result of the amendment to the Constitution Amendment Act number 13 of 2025. And I think proportional representation was one of the key issues, and we would like to emphasize that on our oral submission. And then, of course,
an intervention. I think even though we have requested for highlighting of salient, we would further request that we move according to the way your points have been tabulated in the report, in the submission, so that we move together from one page, from one item to the other.
Thank you, honorable chairperson. I think with your guidance, I will follow the presentation is submitted before the committee. So the first issue that we would raise is maybe around just the definitions of key terms. When we look at the draft bill, I think there are definitions, including what a candidate is, which we suspect, but we still thought of bringing it before this honorable committee. We suspect it could have been a drafting error, maybe at the Ministry of Justice, because when we look at the definition of a candidate, it excludes candidates that are like the presidential election, because it does not include the majoritarian representation, which when you look at the definition, it only limits it to the first past the post. So we suspect that it was a typo or a drafting error. Then, of course, this it can then cause confusion unintentionally in terms of excluding or undermining the majoritarian system, the 50% plus one, and then it will also play the distinction between individuals who actively stand for election and those that are directly accountable to voters. Our recommendation on that is that the definition of candidate should we retain the definition that is in the Principal Act. It just means a presidential, parliamentary, or local government election, without specifying first past the post or nomination or any other classification. I think the way it is in the Principal Act, we think that it is adequate. It is able to capture everything. Then we also had issues around the definition of a campaign period. The bill, I think, is provision for a campaign period to mean the period commencing after the close of nominations and ending the day before an election as the Commission will prescribe. This, in our view, removes the statutory campaign timeframe and give a broad discretion on the Electoral Commission because so it will be, our recommendation is that we retain the definition of a campaign period as it is in the Principal Act. Yeah, it will be difficult. Now the campaign period, according to what is defined in the Principal Act, is supposed to be is commencing in a week or two. So now when we change, I'm sure even the honorable members, those who may be seeking re-election, have aligned their plans based on the current definition. So I think adjusting the current the campaign period now, it might cause unnecessary complications. So we recommend that we retain the definition and stick to a fixed 3-month campaign period. And we also recommend that through this honorable committee, Parliament can still limit the ECZ's excessive discretion on the campaign period and other relevant matters. ECZ is the election management body, but we think that it will be necessary for Parliament through this honorable committee to limit their discretion, because at the end the making of the law vests with Parliament, and there has to be maybe minimal room for other laws to be made outside the laws that the House makes. Then there are issues also of an adoption certificate. I think the bill proposes the inclusion of an adoption certificate in terms of its definition, and one of the requirements is that it must be signed by the President or Secretary General of a political party. Then it goes on to explain. Our view is that maybe this provision is unintentionally or indirectly like amending the Constitution, which is the supreme law, using a subsidiary law, because the Constitution does not have it does not make an adoption certificate as a standalone nomination requirement. So we further note that the specific requirement for the certificate to be signed by the President or Secretary General of a party only may undermine or leave out parties that have other roles like National Secretary or Convener or Chairperson. I think there are some which I've heard, Chairman General, like there are different roles. So I think we recommend that we insert the words or equivalent, so that where the party is a National Secretary, the national will be recognized as the equivalent of a Secretary General or any other role that is, as long as they prove that it is deemed as an equivalent. And also just amend the definition to simply the adoption certificate means a document signed by an authorized representative of a political party. And I think the duty of the party will be to just to prove that whoever is signed is authorized. I know that maybe we may have maybe looking at the way politics happens. Yes, there could be certain internal dynamics, but I think this is a better option than having a blanket definition. Then there is also the issue of party lists, which are again a highlight of the proportional representation system. The bill proposes an inclusion of a definition of a party list as the list prepared by a political party, and then it explains, I've just in our submission just lifted the definition as it is. Our view is that the definition does not indicate the extent to which the determination of the list would it be, for example, through primary elections, or would there be submission, like how, so we think that a clear definition is necessary to list through open, participatory and transparent processes. Otherwise, we might see a a Secretary General or President sitting in his house or another place alone and writing a list and signed by the Secretary General. That list will be legitimate according to this. So I think there is need to strengthen the democratic aspects of the determination of that list. So we have recommended that there is in inclusion of a democratically determined list, so that the definition now then includes, it shows the participatory and democratic nature of the preparation of the party list. Then also, yeah, I think those are the key issues we had around the definitions. We had identified 4 terms. Then we also had issues or concerns around the definition of, or rather the publication of the election timetable. Because the bill proposes that the Principal Act is amended to insert a new subsection which reads, I'll read it with your permission, Chairperson. The publication and the election timetable under this section shall, in addition to the Gazette, be made in a newspaper of general circulation in the Republic or any electronic media that the Commission may determine. Our view is that this proposed amendment does not provide a specific time frame for the publication of nomination information, because a timetable, in our view, must show, it should be a table that shows the times of different occurrences. So the non-specification of the time frame limits the room for compliance with the constitutional provisions relating to challenging of nominations in case a nomination is challenged. So our recommendation is that we need to include a specific provision that the publication shall be within 48 hours of close of nominations. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, I had already mentioned about the party lists on their definition, but we have a further concern on the submission of the party list. Section 36C requires a political party to submit a party list within 7 days after the distribution of the seats in accordance with Section 36B, which in our understanding means that the submission of the list is after the election has been conducted and the results of that election has been announced. We are concerned about the timing of the submission of party lists because our view is that a party list must be subject to public scrutiny. Members of the public, voters, need to know as someone goes to vote, even though they know that they are voting for this presidential candidate, this parliamentary candidate, but because they know that there are also other people that will also benefit from their vote by virtue of their choice. I think it's the citizens, the voters have a right to know who those people are potentially. Yeah, otherwise you may find again the same issue of the Secretary General coming up with a list maybe the voters don't entirely agree with. But once that person goes in using the party list, there is much not the voter can do, because that person has been elected or nominated using the party. And, we think that also this process actually distorts the definition of candidate. Of course, we identified the definition of a candidate as problematic, but this actually further distorts it. So our recommendation is that the provision on the submission of party lists must be revised to require political parties to submit and publish party lists prior to the elections to allow for public scrutiny and accountability. So I think that time on election day, when I'm, let's say I'm a voter in Nalolo, just to use the honorable member as an example, and I know that he is my preferred candidate, then I see that another person who, then that I need to have an idea what is the full package that I'm selecting or electing as a voter. Then also, Honorable Chairperson, on the inspection of the provisional voter of register of voters, the bill proposes to amend Section 13 of the Principal Act through insertions that include subsection 4, which restricts the inspection of the provisional register of voters to electronic platforms. The implication of this is that we may unintentionally exclude citizens without access to digital tools, and it is good that we have honorable members who represent predominantly rural constituencies. Access to the internet and other digital platforms is quite limited. So when we restrict the inspection of the provisional register of voters to electronic platforms, then we exclude those members, those citizens who would have loved to inspect the voters, the provisional voters register. So we recommend, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, that the provision be revised to allow both physical inspection at designated centers, including polling center stations, and electronic access, ensure access for all voters. Regarding the period for the inspection of the provisional voters register, which we have just referred to, Clause 5 of the bill seeks to amend Section 17 of the Principal Act to reduce the period for voter register verification from 90 days as currently contained in the Principal Act to 14 days, or in other terms from 3 months to 2 weeks. The implication of this is that it significantly shortens the time available for citizens to verify their details, concerns about the accuracy and credibility of the voters register. The reduction is also not aligned with the existing legal frameworks and standard practice. We recommend, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, that the bill retain the 90-day period contained in the Principal Act, or at a minimum provide less than 30 days aligned with the voter inspection process. Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, I think one of the key, probably the most detailed part of our submission, I will not read it all, but I think it's important that we will emphasize some things, is on the proportional representation system design and allocation of seats. When the honorable members of parliament amended the constitution in 2025, part of their objectives were to revise the electoral system for election to the National Assembly to provide for a mixed member proportional representation electoral system to guarantee the representation of women, youths, and persons with disability. Our view is that the proportional representation provisions in the bill do not provide for a clearly defined minimum which will meet the aspiration that Parliament had when it accomplished that objective when the amendment of the Constitution. Further, when we look at the inclusions in sections 36B, subsection 2 and 36E, there are concerns regarding the allocation of proportional representation seats at the local council level. For example, section 36B bases the allocation of proportional representation seats on the national presidential vote totals, even when determining representation at a local council level. This does not, in our view, reflect local voter preferences and undermines the principle of governance. At the same time, we see Section 36E introducing a fixed allocation of 18% for proportional representation seats in councils, which lacks clear justification and does not adequately account for variations in population size, ward distribution, local context, and factors. So our view is that all these they risk distorting local representation by both centralizing the basis for allocation of seats and applying a uniform percentage that may not suit all districts. It is therefore we recommend that the bill be amended to introduce a electoral threshold. For example, it could be 3 to 5% of valid votes for qualification for parliamentary seats allocation. Then at council levels, we recommend that the allocation of PR seats must be based on district level electoral results rather than in national presidential vote totals. We therefore recommend that we replace the fixed 18% for council seats with a tiered or category-based system as proposed drafts, I think, of the bill that we did interact with as the ECZ was consulting stakeholders. Another issue on the PR lists is around gender representation. The objective of the Constitution amendment that we read emphasis on the women, youth, and persons. And look, we are of the view that the proposed amendments, particularly in 36F, omit the zebra or zipper system for alternating male and female candidates in the submission of party lists. We are of the view that this risks undermining gender balance, because there is a very high risk that, for example, people will say, no, women, you already have your 20 seats, so let's preserve the other 20 for men. Then you say you find you might have 15 male youths or 13 male youths and 2 female youths. It's 5 persons with this, 5 male persons with disability, or 4 male persons with disability, 4 female persons with disability, and 1. So we think that issues, or I think gender was one of the issues, one part of the intention of Parliament in amending the Constitution, and it must reflect even in the allocation of PR seats, except of course those that are exclusive for so we recommend that the bill reinstate the zebra system to ensure gender parity and equitable representation among the proportional representatives. As a media advocacy organization, Honorable Chairperson, yes, we also did notice that the bill does not fully or adequately operationalize Article 50 of the Constitution that provides that a political party and a candidate contestant shall have access to the media, especially during election campaigns. So it does not say may have, or it says it shall, meaning there is no option like it is a must. But the bill that is then guiding this electoral process not bring out that mandate. And we think that this is a serious omission that creates a regulatory gap and may lead to unequal media coverage during elections, which would constitute an unintended violation of the Constitution provision in Article 50. So our recommendation is that the bill should be updated to include clear mechanisms to operationalize Article 50, ensuring free, fair, equitable, and regulated access to the media for all candidates and political parties. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, we fully understand that the committee is pressed for time and there is a lot. So we thought that request to contribute to speeding up things, we actually have suggested an inclusion for operationalizing Article 50. So we have proposed is just our suggestion, but the honorable committee members can guide. It can be situated in the bill, and then of course benefit from the further refinement. But we have proposed a section that guides access to media during elections, which is basically based on the provision of Article 50, and has guidelines for public media, private media, and also electronic media, seeing that we are in a dispensation where now a lot of our media engagements are actually on electronic media. With your permission, Honorable Chairperson and members, I have skipped that, but I trust, because I think maybe the members may need to thoroughly interrogate that proposed inclusion, and then we assure maybe the members may add or subtract, but hopefully not completely discard the proposed inclusion, which we have done in good faith and as part of our contribution to improving the media ecosystem in the country. And then we also have another issue that we have identified, which is on the regulation of political parties. The Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members, we know that is relating to the regulation of political parties, which would operationalize Article 60 of the Constitution. But since there is no Political Parties Act, we think that this bill, the law that Parliament is currently addressing, can take care of us the provisions, requirements to regulate political parties effectively. We are of the view that the bill currently does not, to a large extent, or it does not operationalize Article 60 of the Constitution, and this leaves gaps in governance, leadership roles, financing transparency, and the over-reliance on the registered parties may compromise the independence of political parties and go against the aspects that are contained in the Constitution in Article 60. And this may then create a situation where we might be having practices that are in conflict with the Constitution, and then we unintentionally create maybe an illegal situation. So we recommend, Honorable Chair and members, that the bill be strengthened by introducing specific provisions within the Electoral Process Act to operationalize maybe partly Article 60, pending the anticipated enactment of a comprehensive Political Parties Act, after which the amendments can be further made then to remove any provisions of the Electoral Process Act that would be addressed in the Political Parties Act. We recommend that particularly the bill that is currently before this honorable committee must require political parties participating in elections to adhere to minimum standards of internal democracy, including transparent processes for selecting candidates and compiling party lists for proportional representation. As an organization, we recognize the great roles that secretaries and presidents of parties play, but we think that we have to minimize the room for them single-handedly coming up with those lists. There has to be a democratic process, and that process must be transparent and known to everyone who needs to know it. And also there must be mandatory basic disclosure requirements, including party leadership structures and authorized office bearers for purposes of accountability in the electoral processes. Lastly, on that, we also recommend that the Electoral Commission of Zambia must be empowered to issue regulations or guidelines on political party conduct during elections limited to electoral matters, so that maybe the ECZ coming up with maybe a de facto electoral political parties act, but they come up with regulations or guidelines maybe to enhance what is currently in place. The last item that we have, Honorable Chair, and is on the recall of PR representatives. After someone has been nominated as a PR member, maybe even done a celebration or like something, then the section 36H allows a political party that sponsored the member holding a PR seat to recall that member at any time during the term of parliament. It can be one day or maybe as they are still celebrating their nomination, they can be recalled. And the same applies to the proposed 36I subsection 2, which proposes the same for a councillor. We are of the view that these provisions allow political parties to recall members of parliament and councillors at any time, which undermines the electoral mandate of the people whose votes contributed to the selection or election of those proportional representatives, and it weakens the independence of elected representatives, as it subjects them to undue control. Our recommendation, Honorable Chairperson and members, is that these provisions be removed, or at the very least they should be strictly limited with clear safeguards to including grounds and due process requirements for recall, so that a person that will be recalled should anticipate that with what has happened, I may be recalled based on the processes that are known to everyone in a party and other electoral stakeholders. This will minimize maybe potential abuse of the provision by party leaders and undermine democratic processes. So these are our submission, Honorable Chairperson and members, just to emphasize that we, as Panos Institute Southern Africa, we greatly appreciate this opportunity to make our submission before this honorable committee. And despite the gaps that we have identified, which we have tried to also maybe accompany with recommendations, I think the bill presents us a good opportunity to consolidate our democracy, to strengthen our electoral systems, especially in terms of strengthening inclusivity of youth, persons with disability, and women. And this will also improve the administration of our elections. We are of the view that if the identified gaps are addressed, the bill will significantly strengthen the integrity and credibility of the electoral process in the country. It will also enhance transparency and accountability in electoral management and promote inclusive and representative governance in Zambia, where even people that come in as PR representatives will actually be representatives of everyone, not just of the person who them. Well, it is our hope, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable, that recommendations that we have made will be favorably considered to ensure that the final law fully supports democratic consolidation and citizen participation. Alongside our partners, as you heard, we have Bloggers of Zambia and the Free Press Initiative. We remain confident that the outcome of this legislative process and the massive investment that the committee is put into this process will contribute meaningfully to deepening Zambia's democracy through the development of a robust, transparent, and inclusive electoral system that advances Zambia's democratic and development aspirations. Once again, we thank you. We appreciate the committee for the opportunity to make this submission. We thank you, Honorable Chair and members. I submit.
Thank you, Panos, for that very comprehensive the submission. Now, honorable members, those who have observations to make. Yes, Honorable Imanga.
Thank you very much, Chair and panels. Thank you for your very comprehensive statement. Chair, I note that Panos has made some submissions, which are some of them are outside the objects of the bill, but are important in their comments to the bill. Now, for example, your comment on regulation of political parties. Of this amendment on the Society Act. Can you be clear, is it your submission that this particular amendment of the electoral process is an overreach on the Political Parties Act in terms of regulation of political parties? Is this where this comment is coming from? Do you feel that part of these amendments should not be in the Electoral Process Act, but should be provided for under the Political Parties Act, which is not yet operationalized? Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Mshanga.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. And Panos, thank you very much for your presentation. I followed you keenly as you were undertaking your presentation to the committee, and you have touched part of what I'm bringing forward to you. So I want generally through the chair, how do you rate the same bill on the scale of 1 to 10? 10 being excellent, despite the observations that you have made, the recommendations that you have advanced to this committee. I submit, Honorable Chairperson.
Honorable Sefuro.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so very much, Panos, for the submission to the committee. In one of your recommendations on page 8, you've recommended that when it comes to party lists, there should be the definition should be democratically determined list. And for me, this is, I don't know, how do we measure this? You know, because for us to be able to introduce some, it should be something that is measurable, that we are able to take account that this was done. So how do we measure, for example, that this, you know, democratically done as it is proposed by you? So just give us guidance on how we can take note of that. I submit.
Those three, you can respond to them.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, for those questions. Regarding on the, maybe I will start with the last one, then going up. On the submission of party lists, that they must be democratically, process of preparing and actual submission of the list must be democratic. So it could be through primary elections, a process that is open, where, because you would find that in a constituency or in a ward, there are many people that also aspire to that may aspire to also be included in the party list. I have had like informally like interacted with the people where you can get a sense that there are others who will be encouraged to say, no, you leave this one for this to go in under PR. That person will start thinking, but you'll find that there are more of those than the seats that can be. So the current setup, it can result in the Secretary General or the President. I think we have seen maybe political parties where maybe during the day or at night, one person, maybe in the company of one or two others, making announcements about the certain affairs of the party. So imagine if that announcement is a party list where he says, I, when the powers vested in me as Secretary General or as President or as National Secretary, I have submitted this list and they have signed it. And because the only requirement is that the list must be signed by them. So I think we think that it undermines the freedom or the democratic right of the voters. So the voters must at least contribute, maybe through a primary election, where people who are potential members of a list, all of them should be, their names should be submitted, and then the voters in that ward or in that constituency then choose through a primary election. And the most popular, the one who would be now be democratically, so that is the democratic determination through a primary election. But we did not go into those details because we assumed, and we know that our assumption is very correct, that the honorable members are more familiar with internal democratic processes of political parties and may guide what would be the best way. But it must be inclusive. It must not leave out anyone. You might have on one end a situation where people who want to be nominated are not nominated. But you can also have another situation which is very unlikely, where a person is nominated, are not interested, and they resign, and that will cause Parliament the unnecessary issues of amending its record and stuff. So we think that the democracy, for now, the one that quickly comes to mind is primary elections, where members openly or through secret, but there has to be some kind of democracy. Then on our rating of the bill, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst and 10 being most excellent, is according to me, we didn't discuss with my colleagues, but I suspect they also agree with me that we can give it 7.9. There is, and the room for improvement is because the areas where the bill is not like where we think that the that we have removed, which would be like 23%, are the issues that we have identified. Most of these issues are like, for example, the definitions, like some of them we did acknowledge that we suspect it could have been maybe some drafting error. And a lot of them, I think they are, when you look at where we are coming from, because this Electoral Process Amendment Act is operationalizing the amendments that Parliament made to the Constitution through Amendment Act number 13. And I think most of it, there has been an effort, and we also have to be sincere with ourselves. We have never had this type of electoral system before. We have never had this many constituencies. So there are certain things that we are learning. So I think I'll give it about 7.9 going up. I said 7 points. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Then I think Honorable Wamnyi might also asked in terms of whether we think that this is like an overreach. We are not really, but we think that because like now we are in a situation where I think Parliament has for some time discussed the issues around the regulation of political parties through the Political Parties Act. But that Political Parties Act is not yet in place. we are aware of discussions that have happened, but the reality is that right now there is no act to regulate. So now the Electoral Process Act is the closest that we have to regulating the participation of because politics are the in terms of a group of, like, they are one of the biggest stakeholders in an electoral process, and that now in the same way to be that regulation of how they conduct their processes as far as they affect everyone else's participation in the electoral process. But I think that is something which we also, yes, I think as Honorable Wamnyima did acknowledge that maybe it was a bit outside the scope, but I think it is important for the committee to reflect on it, and it will help, because all this, in our view, is to strengthen our democratic foundations, to strengthen electoral systems across the board. And now we see that for now, because we have a situation where the main player, political parties, are not properly or are not thoroughly regulated, and we see an opportunity for now as a temporary measure. I know it's we are not suggesting that honorable members should then anticipate to spend more weekends in have done amending this act, but we think that it would be necessary as a stopgap measure to have provisions that can control political parties under this Electoral Process Act, while pending the enactment of the Political Parties Act, which we are confident will eventually happen. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and members.
Honorable members, any more observations or questions? It's quiet. Quiet means matters are being understood. So, panels, thank you very much. For sure, the report is very comprehensive. And just to indicate to you that this committee does not dismiss. The job of this committee is to receive at the end of the receiving of these submissions, compilation, then compile all the recommendations. Finally, one resolution has to come out that will bind to the interest of the people of Zambia. So whatever we are saying, whatever we are doing, it should be for the good of the Zambians. So we need to make laws that will be acceptable. That's why we are requesting for submissions. So we are not here to dismiss your proposals and suggestions from what you have observed of the amendments. So let me now maybe just one word, your last word.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I think, yes, maybe firstly just to thank you for that assurance. That yes, the committee is not here to dismiss, and we fully understand. I have to admit that I try to put in the shoes of the honorable members, and it's because I looked at our submission alone. I'm like, okay, here is maybe to find one or two words, or it is a lot of. I think we as people who are under your leadership. I think I have to also commend you on a record. Yes, we know it will actually be a shock even to us if a lot of recommendations are lifted. Of course, the one that we've recommended on Article 50, that one we hope the committee can pull whatever strings it can or push in using the systems. This will actually help in strengthening Zambia as a model African democracy. We know that issues of media access are provided for in the code of conduct, but when it's in the principal act, it will really carry a lot of weight. So just to say, as behalf of my team, we greatly appreciate you and all the honorable members. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Finally, we have to remove the immunity that was extended so that your panel remains on its own.
Sorry, Honorable Chairperson, before you remove the immunity, I would request that I take a photo with the, the members of the committee.
Well, there you have it. Panos Institute Zambia has made a submission before the Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the Electoral Process Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 44 of 2026. And the submission was in partnership with Bloggers of Zambia and Free Press Initiative. The team was led by Mr. Vusumuzi Sifile and his executive director from Panos. The committee continues to receive submissions at about 14:30 hours. We do expect the Zambia Agency for Persons with Disabilities to make their submission to the committee. And remember, that's to scrutinize the Electoral Process Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 44 of 2026. Good afternoon.